0 team reps for Shedeur Sanders in training camp practice today. It's the first time this entire training camp that the 5th-round rookie out of Colorado has gotten 0 reps, that Shedeur Sanders did not participate in team drills today due to arm soreness.
Now, I stopped Shedeur on the way off to the field, and all he said to me was, "I'm good."
If you'd have told me, let's see, we picked him on Saturday, right? Friday night driving home, y'all are going to pick Shedeur, I would say that's not happening.
They said it was just soreness. A rookie quarterback benched on the eve of preseason for his own good, or so they claimed. But after weeks of outperforming expectations, why did Shedeur Sanders suddenly vanish from team drills? While others took the spotlight, Shedeur was sidelined, confused, quiet, yet ready. Was this about injury or interference? And why are Browns insiders whispering about timing, reps, and a front office that's just not sold? This battle is bigger than a sore shoulder. It might just be a power move.
Browns back at practice here, day 9 of training camp, and we'll start with Shedeur Sanders, who did not participate in any team drills today.
Day 9 of training camp was supposed to be routine. Another critical rep-building session for a Cleveland Browns quarterback room locked in one of the most unpredictable four-man battles in recent memory. Joe Flacco, the seasoned veteran. Kenny Pickett, the injured former Steeler. Dylan Gabriel, the rookie the front office appears heavily invested in. And then Shedeur Sanders. The 5th-round pick from Colorado had been turning heads, not with flash, but with focus. With Pickett sidelined by a hamstring injury, the door was open, and Shedeur was walking through it. Reporters noted his composure, his precision, and his growing rhythm with 2nd and 3rd units. He wasn't just keeping up, he was closing in. Then, out of nowhere, he was pulled. No warning, no statement, no visible signs of injury. Just one phrase echoing through Berea: arm soreness. A red flag, not for its severity, but for its timing. Why now? Why Shedeur? The story didn't match the trajectory. And in a battle where every rep matters, his sudden disappearance felt less like caution and more like control.
Browns back at practice here, day 9 of training camp, and we'll start with Shedeur Sanders, who did not participate in any team drills today.
Day 9 in Berea, the kind of day that separates the contenders from the hopefuls. For quarterbacks, one opportunity, an open-ended battle that had become the heartbeat of Browns training camp. Joe Flacco, the proven vet with a Super Bowl pedigree. Kenny Pickett, the trade acquisition nursing a hamstring injury. Dylan Gabriel, a rookie with hype but questions. And Shedeur Sanders, the lightning rod, the legacy, the wild card. For most of camp, Shedeur had been quietly stacking good days, reading defenses, hitting tight windows, earning nods, not headlines, from those who watch closest. With Pickett sidelined and reps up for grabs, the timing couldn't have been better. But then, without notice, he was out. No first-team work, no second-team snaps, nothing. The official explanation: arm soreness. Not a tear, not a strain, just soreness. The timing? Odd. The messaging? Vague, especially given how critical every rep is in this evaluation window. And even more curious, reports confirm Sanders took part in individual drills earlier that same morning. It wasn't just fans who noticed the silence. It was beat reporters, analysts, and even teammates. In a quarterback competition where perception often matters as much as performance, Shedeur's sudden absence didn't just raise eyebrows. It ignited suspicion.
Now, I stopped Shedeur on the way off to the field, and all he said to me was, "I'm good." Later, the Browns came out and said he was held out because of arm soreness.
When Tony G.I. stopped Shedeur Sanders as he left the field, there was no limp, no sling, no visible discomfort. Just a calm, confident response. "I'm good." No elaboration. No complaints. Just a quiet dismissal of what would later spiral into controversy. The Browns' official statement, issued hours after practice ended, told a different story. Arm soreness. But the timeline didn't match. By the time the team offered that explanation, the news had already spread online, and confusion was already morphing into speculation. And here's where it got strange. Shedeur took part in the individual QB drills that morning. He threw. He moved. He competed. Then, during the crucial team drills, when reps matter most, he was nowhere to be found. Meanwhile, veteran Joe Flacco, who typically didn't need heavy practice reps, was suddenly active with the second team. And Dylan Gabriel, the rookie third-rounder, was taking first-team snaps. It was as if the quarterback room reshuffled in real time, without explanation. Was this about injury management? Or was it about leverage, sending a message, resetting the power structure, reminding a rising rookie that his future is still in their hands? In a battle where narratives are shaped just as much by opportunity as performance, removing Shedeur at this moment shifted the spotlight, and maybe not by accident.
So he will have an exam this afternoon, not an MRI yet. That will only come if the initial exam warrants it.
Something didn't sit right. According to multiple on-site reports, Shedeur Sanders completed his individual drills before alerting coaches to any soreness. That distinction matters, because if the issue had been pre-existing, protocol would have demanded transparency. Trainers would have stepped in earlier. And more importantly, the coaching staff would have told the media before questions flooded social media. But they didn't. Instead, silence reigned until well after practice. By then, speculation had already taken root, growing fast, fueled by timing and history. Browns insiders noted that it's rare, if not unheard of, for a player to be held out mid-practice without a coordinated statement. The optics alone triggered questions. Was this a sudden medical precaution? Or something else? Some began wondering aloud, was this disciplinary? Was Sanders late to a meeting? Did he break team protocol? Others suspected it was more calculated. A strategic pause to stall momentum. To rebalance a quarterback competition shifting too quickly toward a fifth-round rookie with a famous last name. Veteran analyst Jake Burns didn't mince words, calling the situation suspicious. And given Shedeur's limited reps leading up to this moment, that word carried weight. This was his chance to close the gap. Instead, he disappeared, without warning, without explanation. In a building known for quarterback chaos, this didn't feel like coincidence. It felt like containment.
Dylan Gabriel had every chance since he stepped foot in Cleveland to show the Cleveland Browns that he is not their franchise quarterback.
With Shedeur Sanders watching from the sideline, the moment arrived for Dylan Gabriel. All eyes shifted to the rookie from Oklahoma, the quarterback who, on paper, had everything lined up. First-team reps, a weakened depth chart, and a franchise desperate for answers. But what unfolded on the field was anything but reassuring. Missed opportunities, misfires, plays that never developed beyond the snap. The tempo slowed, the energy dipped, and frustration, once quiet, began to simmer. First on the sideline, then online. Fans, dissecting every snap, began asking what the Browns refused to answer. Why was Gabriel getting reps that Shedeur had seemingly earned? The tape didn't lie. Where Shedeur showed timing and confidence in earlier sessions, Gabriel hesitated. Where Sanders looked crisp in red zone reps, Gabriel stared down routes. The difference wasn't just mechanical, it was visceral. You could feel it. One was ready, the other still searching. Veteran Joe Flacco continued his methodical rhythm with the second team. Kenny Pickett remained sidelined. Yet Gabriel was the one being elevated and not delivering. And behind the scenes, something began to shift. Browns beat reporters, those with eyes in the building, began hinting quietly at dissatisfaction. Not with Gabriel, necessarily, but with how the reps were being distributed. The feeling that the quarterback rotation was being managed, not earned. In Cleveland, nothing about the QB position ever stays quiet for long. And this storm was just beginning.
I think some people are looking at this with like squinted eyes and being like, that seems strange. Like, why could you have a shoulder soreness issue with the guy who's taking the least amount of reps?
Inside the walls of Berea, it's never just about the depth chart. It's about leverage, legacy, and timing. And as the whispers grew louder, those closest to the Browns began piecing together a narrative that no one inside the building wanted to admit. Something didn't add up. Jake Burns, a seasoned Browns analyst who's been through more than a few quarterback controversies, voiced what many were thinking, but few were willing to say publicly. You don't sideline a guy like this unless there's more going on. And he's right. By all accounts, Shedeur Sanders had been putting in the extra work, throwing after practice, engaged in film, showing up early, staying late, doing everything a rookie fighting for a shot is supposed to do, and yet benched. Burns offered a sharp analogy. If Shedeur were Nick Mullins, he'd be cut already. The meaning was clear. This wasn't about merit. If the team didn't see potential in Shedeur, they'd have let him go. But they didn't. They held him out, which raised the uncomfortable question. If they believe in him enough to keep him, why not play him? That paradox, valued enough to keep, yet not trusted enough to compete, created a locker room ripple effect. Coaches and staff may toe the party line, but players see the reps. They see who's rising and who's being sidelined. And in a city where quarterback drama has become ritual, the signs of another power struggle were beginning to surface.
If you would have gave Shedeur Sanders all those reps today, he would have definitely took advantage of that 1,000%.
The moment the clip of Shedeur's absence surfaced, the floodgates opened. Browns Nation, already notorious for its passion, erupted into two loud, defiant factions. One side echoed the team's explanation. Soreness happens, especially after weeks of constant throwing. Trust the process. Let the medical staff do their job. Better to sit a day than lose a season. But the other side? Outraged. Convinced this wasn't about health. It was about hierarchy. To them, Shedeur Sanders wasn't just a promising rookie. He was outperforming expectations, and more importantly, outshining the names above him on the depth chart. Fans poured over training camp clips, sharing slowed-down footage of his perfect spirals, pocket composure, and quick reads. Compared to Dylan Gabriel's inconsistency, the contrast felt glaring. You give Shedeur those reps today, he dominates 1,000%. That wasn't just a quote. It became a rallying cry. Debates surged across YouTube comment sections, Twitter threads, Reddit posts. Even former players weighed in, some suggesting politics, others suggesting protection, but almost all agreeing something fell off. And now, with the preseason opener against the Panthers just days away, the noise has reached the locker room. The fans want clarity. They want fairness. But more than anything, they want to see number 14 on the field.
I don't blame anybody for questioning. Do these guys actually know what they're doing?
The outrage wasn't limited to Shedeur Sanders' absence. It began to spread deeper into the heart of the Browns' operations. A familiar question resurfaced in the minds of fans and analysts alike. Can this coaching staff be trusted to develop a quarterback? It's not the first time Cleveland has stood at this crossroads. For years, the franchise has cycled through signal callers, each one heralded as a solution, each one ending in disappointment. And now, with a raw yet talented rookie showing flashes of promise, the staff appeared hesitant, even conflicted. Jake Burns, a respected voice within the Browns' media orbit, pushed back against the conspiracy theories. No, this wasn't sabotage, but he didn't defend the staff blindly either. His words carried weight. Something was off. That uncertainty cracked open a deeper issue. Browns fans don't just want wins, they want trust. And right now, that trust feels fractured. Every decision at quarterback, every snap distribution, every cryptic press conference only fuels the belief that politics may be at play. Is Shedeur being protected or restrained? Is this staff nurturing his future or afraid of the present? The longer this ambiguity lingers, the more it threatens to alienate the very people the Browns depend on. Because if Shedeur Sanders isn't given a fair shot, the fan base might not give this coaching regime another one either.
Whereas Shedeur is probably in that second half. Depends on, also depends on Shedeur's shoulder, if that is just a blip on the radar here or something to a larger degree. So
the countdown is on. Friday night, the Cleveland Browns travel to Carolina to open their preseason slate. And while most preseason openers are little more than warm-ups, this one feels different, charged, uncertain, consequential. Because this game might be Shedeur Sanders' only chance. With Joe Flacco likely to play sparingly and Kenny Pickett still managing his recovery, the expectation is that Dylan Gabriel will get the lion's share of early reps. But for Shedeur, the clock is ticking. A second-half appearance. Maybe a series. Maybe two. That's it. That's the window. And for a player who's been under the microscope since day one, every throw, every read, Every audible will be dissected, not just by coaches, but by fans and national media who followed his journey from Jackson State to Colorado and now to Cleveland. If he doesn't play at all, the speculation will explode. If he plays poorly, the critics will say he wasn't ready. But if he delivers, if Shedeur steps onto that field and commands it with poise and precision, it may not just shake up the depth chart. It may force the Browns front office to face a reality they've been quietly avoiding. This isn't just another preseason game. For Shedeur Sanders, and maybe for the future of this quarterback room, it's the opening scene of a bigger story still being written. And in Cleveland, every chapter counts.
Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, those quarterbacks are nowhere near better than Shedeur Sanders. That's just my personal.
So now, the question echoes far beyond a practice field. Is Shedeur Sanders really nursing an injury, or was this orchestrated? Was his absence a precaution or a power play? Did the Browns front office underestimate just how fast this rookie would close the gap? Or, more provocatively, are they worried about what happens if Shedeur wins the job outright? What happens if a fifth-rounder, the son of a Hall of Famer, backed by fans and outperforming expectations, forces their hand? For a team starving for stability under center, are they prepared to embrace an answer that didn't come from their own plan? That's where you come in. Let us know in the comments. Should Shedeur be QB2 right now? Or is he already QB1 in waiting? Is Jimmy Haslam playing it safe or playing politics? And most of all, do you trust this staff to handle a quarterback with the spotlight already chasing him? Drop your take below, because this story is far from over. And in Cleveland, the quarterback drama is just getting started.